How's it going, guys? Today I want to talk about a somewhat shocking article that I saw in Mansion Global talking about the housing market in Manila. Let's go. So when people have never visited the Philippines, or when they've only visited very small parts of the Philippines, I'll often hear about people talking about the Philippines being a poor country. Now, like any country in the world, including the US, the Philippines is a developing country, and there's obviously a lot of people struggling. This focus on poverty in the Philippines even has a word for it that people talk about, poverty porn, where people will often have videos talking about slums or areas of the Philippines that are struggling. And I think it gives the perception that everybody in the Philippines is struggling, or that there are only places to live that wouldn't be quite so desirable for Westerners. However, there's a totally different side of the Philippines that I think gets missed. I have a friend of mine who sent me over an article from Mansion Global today that covered a research paper done by Knight Frank, a leading real estate consultancy that's been around in London since 1896. And they were talking about the rise in the global luxury housing market. And you're going to be surprised who wound up on top. Now, the article is titled, Philippines capital Manila led the world in luxury home price growth last year in 2023. It said the densely populated city saw prime properties appreciate more than 25%. And then the article goes on to say that Manila overtook Dubai as the fastest appreciating luxury real estate market last year, according to the residential installment of Knight Frank's wealth report released last Wednesday. Now, this article came out recently on February 28th of 2024. Now, just imagine that. People know how much money there is in Dubai. I mean, the amount of wealth and prosperity there is astounding. Manila, probably not where people think of as a similar luxury market. And of course, there are many places in Manila where there are slums, where there is poverty, but that is definitely not all of Manila. There's also a lot of very luxurious high-end condos, high-end houses there, high-end neighborhoods. You would be surprised at the amount of neighborhoods there are where very wealthy people live in Manila. And this report shows just how much people spent in increases in that luxury market last year in 2023, more than anywhere else in the world when it comes to prices for luxurious houses. Now, the article goes on to say, the capital of the Philippines, considered the most densely populated city in the world, recorded annual price gains of 26.3% across its high-end market in 2023, the most of any of the 100 markets analyzed by the real estate firm and property consultant. With the price growth of 16%, Dubai, which ranked number 1 in the prior edition of the report, slipped to second place, and the Bahamas, having logged gains of 15% last year, came in third place. As someone living in the Philippines, one of the things that I really care about is showing what's going on in the Philippines as a whole. And so often I'll feel that the Philippines is misrepresented. There is a lot of people struggling over here. However, when it comes to things like housing prices, even at a median level, things like the average condos in cities like Davao City or Cebu City or Manila or other comparable cities over here in the Philippines, they're not cheap. I think that a lot of people are surprised when they come over here and they find that the prices are not any different from the Western country where they lived, especially if they're looking at the square meter or the square foot. Prices are actually quite high over here, even for median level places in the Philippines. Same with office rent. I pay about the same here as I did in California for office rent if I'm looking at the cost per square foot. It's just expensive here. Now, of course, it's more expensive in a city like Cebu City or a place like Manila. Places like Davao City, where we recently opened business offices here in the Philippines, are lower than those other cities. But the Philippines isn't cheap when it comes to real estate. And you can't help but wonder, are these prices sustainable, or is there going to be a crash in the Philippines market in times to come? This isn't my area of expertise. I'll leave it to the experts out there. And your thoughts, what you think in the comments below. Now, when people think of luxury, I think often they're thinking of big Western cities in the US or France or England or different countries like that. However, this article interestingly ended up by saying the Asia Pacific region was the most prosperous, with luxury prices up 3.8% annually, besting the Americas, where luxury home prices were up 3.6%. It's not just places like the US where the luxury market is growing. It's also the Asia Pacific region, where I am, that is really seeing high-end growth. But if you imagine, the average growth in Asia Pacific is the largest increase of any region in the world, and it was up 3.8%. And again, we saw that in Manila, prices were up 26.3%, enormously higher than anywhere else in the world. So when it comes to the Philippines, is it a developing country where there's a lot of people struggling? Yes, it is. However, is there a lot of prosperity, a lot of growth here, people with a lot of money? Absolutely, because somebody has to pay all of those prices for all of the condos, which aren't always cheap here, and definitely for those far more expensive, luxurious places. Even in Cebu City, where I was living for years, there's housing tracts over there with houses that cost $1 million, $3 million, $5 million US dollars. If that sounds like a ridiculous price, it is a ridiculous price. However, that is the reality of what housing prices go in some areas of the Philippines. For me, I hope that this is a trend towards the Philippines economy continuing to grow. It has a long way to go, but my hope is that things over here will change, that the average wages, what the average person makes over here will continue to rise. Filipinos are great people. They definitely deserve that. Are there a lot of inherent problems that are stumbling blocks to that happening overnight? Absolutely. But I hope year by year, the Philippines will continue to become a more prosperous place, and that Filipinos will get to enjoy a lot more of the things that they really desire and deserve, and won't always have to be an overseas worker or become an immigrant, sending money back to the Philippines to be able to make it happen. In time, I really hope to see the Philippines economy itself become strong and people be able to live here and really enjoy the life that they're longing for. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. As always, guys, appreciate you taking the time to watch. Take care.